Hello everyone, this is Tom from the Equity Music Store in Utrecht, the Netherlands. And today we are going to be doing another comparison, and this is going to be a very fun one. We are going to be comparing these two beautiful 1959 reissue Les Paul standards. We've got the new Epiphone inspired by Gibson custom Les Paul standard 1959. Then here we have got a real Gibson custom shop 1959 Les Paul standard reissue. So this one is based on this one really, but a really big difference between these two is that this one is priced at almost 7,000 euros and this one is only priced at 1,300 euros. So approximately like 5 to 6 times as expensive. But does this one also sound, play and feel 6 times as good? So let's dive into the specs and how these compare. Are they really all that different? Let's dive into it. So both come with real mahogany bodies. On the Gibson we have got a one-piece lightweight mahogany back in a beautiful cherry stained finish on the back. Looking really beautiful with all of that gorgeous mahogany wood grain. And then on the Epiphone we have got what appears to be a two-piece mahogany body that also looks really good. Definitely done in a different color and a different type of finish, because that is also one major difference that you could probably already tell right off the bat. This one has a true nitro finish as opposed to the Epiphone's polyurethane VOS finish, which stands for Vintage Original Sheen. But that is basically just a satin-y, like a mixture between satin and gloss polyurethane finish. And this one here on the Gibson is the real deal nitro cellulose finish that they also used in the 1950s, what this one is based off of. So a really major difference in look, but very much also in feel, because these feel very different. Both feel really comfortable, but very different. Both come with flamed maple tops. On the Gibson Custom Shop 1959 Les Paul standard we've got a true two-piece flamed maple top in a beautiful washed cherry sunburst finish. That super classic and iconic look that just looks, yeah, pretty stunning. Then on the Epiphone we've also got a maple top, but this is not a real two-piece flamed maple top. We've got a flamed maple veneer going on this maple top. So underneath that flamed maple veneer there may be a two-piece top, maybe a three-piece top. We really don't know unless we take it apart. But that is definitely different, and this one is definitely higher end when it comes to that. As for the pickups, both Gibson Custom Shop custom bucker pickups, but they are not the exact same. On the Gibson we have got Gibson Custom Bucker El Nico 2 unpotted humbucker pickups. So really true to the real deal 1959 PAF humbuckers. And then on the Epiphone we've got like your standard Gibson Custom Shop custom bucker humbucker pickups. Both sound incredibly good for that really incredible and iconic PAF humbucker tone. Both of these will not let you down for sure. As for the pickup selectors, both made by Switchcraft. So that is really high quality stuff, very high quality components. Then as for the bridges, they are different. So let's take a look at the Gibson one first, because the Gibson Custom Shop 1959 Les Paul standard comes with a true ABR1 bridge, and what that means is that the posts are drilled directly into the body and not into bushings. Fold it up to the camera a little bit closer. You can see that those kind of like the screws that you see, those are the posts that are drilled directly into the body, and then the thumb wheels are installed onto those, and then the bridge is installed onto that. So that is what a true ABR1 is supposed to be. And this is supposedly, in theory, better because the vibrations of the strings go directly into the body, as opposed to first having to go into like this bushing that then transfers the vibrations into the body. So this is, in theory, supposed to sound better and give you better tone. And then as for the Epiphone, let's take a look at that one now. They also list it as an ABR1, but it is not a true ABR1, so that is kind of a bummer if you ask me, because we still get the bushings. As you can see, you see those bushings that are installed into the top, and then the posts are installed to those, and then the thumb wheels, and then the bridge is put on. So you do get the bushings that then transfer the vibrations into the body of the guitar, as opposed to being more directly in contact with the body. So that is different and kind of inferior in theory, but will we hear a difference? We will hear so in a couple of minutes. So the tailpieces, they are also a little bit different. On the Gibson one, we've got the true historic lightweight aluminum tailpiece. And on the Epiphone, we have also got a Gibson tailpiece, but that is a Gibson historic reissue tailpiece. That's also Gibson branded. So I believe that that is also more lightweight and therefore a bit more accurate, as opposed to your more like typical like stop tailpiece made by Epiphone. As for the pots, we both got CTS 500 and K pots, so they are the same when it comes to that. So that is really nice to see. Very, very high quality stuff and very high quality components. Both got the really cool thumb bleeder indicators, and they also have similar amber knobs, but the one on the Gibson definitely look better, as in that they have a little bit more of a rounded edge and they are kind of like yellowed, and they just look a little bit more fancy, like a little bit more time and love went into those, as opposed to the Epiphones that just look like plastic, which is also fine, but definitely looks a little bit more cheap. The capacitors are different. In the Gibson we've got paper in oil capacitors, and on the Epiphone we've got Mallory capacitors. The input jacks or the output jacks are both made by Switchcraft, but then on the Gibson we have got the US dimensions, and on the Epiphone the import dimensions. So they differ a little bit in size, but that doesn't really matter for the tone at all. The pickguards both have the really cool looking classic cream pickguards. The Gibson one definitely looks a little bit more high-end, as in that it has really nice rounded edges. There's also a little bit thinner material, and the bracket also seems to be a little bit aged, if you will. But then on the Epiphone, it is a little bit more thick material that they use to make that, and also the bracket is more import style. It looks a little bit more rough, if you will, but does the job just fine. As for the necks, both come with one-piece mahogany necks, and they both come with the exact same 1959 custom shop profile. Also on this one, on the Epiphone, so that is really nice to see, and I can definitely confirm they feel the exact same profile, shape and thickness. So that is really, really cool to see that you get a Gibson custom shop neck profile on an Epiphone guitar. Really cool to see again, and yeah, I really like this neck profile, as do a lot of other people, because this is an incredibly comfortable profile, as in that it is not too thick, not too thin, really nicely rounded, and yeah, really popular for good reason. They do feel different, as in that this obviously gets the polyurethane VOS finish, as opposed to the true nitro finish on the Gibson variant. The fingerboard is where these really do differ. On the Gibson we've got the true beautiful rosewood fingerboard with the pearloid trapezoid inlays. Really nice dark piece of rosewood with also some nice rosewood streaking. But then on the Epiphone we have got Indian laurel, which is quite common to see nowadays on guitars made by Epiphone. Also looks good, but it is not very much accurate at all. The inlays are different, because on the Gibson we've got pearloid inlays, which is historically accurate. Then on the Epiphone we've got real mother of pearl inlays. So that is kind of interesting and also kind of funny, because real pearl is more fancy, because that is kind of harder to get your hands on, like historically. And then the pearloid is basically just plastic. So yeah, that is quite funny if you ask me, that you get the fancy pearl on the Epiphone and you get the cheap plastic on the Gibson. So yeah, that is one of those pretty big differences when it comes to the look, definitely. Both of the fingerboards are bound, as we can tell, in a one-ply cream binding. But on the Gibson we've got the fancier tortoiseshell dot side markers in the binding. Then on the Epiphone we just got these black dot side markers. Then as for the headstocks, both come with the iconic open book headstocks. That is a pretty big deal for here on the Epiphone inspired by Gibson custom line that they all get this open book headstock design. Looks super fancy and very much authentic, but obviously this one says Gibson, this one says Epiphone, but they both get the Les Paul model silkscreen. As for the nuts, by the way, those are different. We've got the historically accurate nylon nut on the Gibson, and then a Graphtec nut on the Epiphone, and also the truss rod covers are different. We've got the import style truss rod cover on the Epiphone with the 3 screws, and then on the Gibson we've got the true historically accurate bell-shaped truss rod cover that looks super cool. Then as for the tuners, both have these really cool Clusen style tuners. These are the real deal Clusen tuners. These are Clusen single line vintage tuners. And then these are Clusen style made by Epiphone. So Epiphone deluxe tuners. They both do the job really well. I wouldn't really say that one works better than the other. So yeah, I believe that that is all that there is to cover about these two really phenomenal 1959 Les Paul standards. They both play incredibly well and they sound really great, but they are definitely different. And I would say that it mostly comes down to the feel, because nitro as opposed to polyurethane feels very different. And in my opinion, this one definitely feels more high-end, as you would expect given the price point. But this one definitely feels more handmade, if you will, like somebody or like a team of people has put a lot of time into making this very beautiful, historically accurate Les Paul standard. This one also feels really great, don't get me wrong, but it definitely feels like this one has been kind of made with less care, if you will. I know it sounds kind of like fake and stuff, but they do definitely feel different, as in that this one feels better than this one. But as for the sound, I think that they both sound just really great. They do sound a little bit different, but I wouldn't necessarily say that one sounds a lot better than the other. They just sound a little bit different. So that really then just comes down to the taste, as you will hear so in a minute. So yeah, let's take these 1959 Les Paul standard reissues for a spin and hear what they sound like. But first, if you're interested in either of these 1959 Les Paul standards, be sure to head over to the links in the description for further details. If you enjoyed this comparison, be sure to like it and to subscribe to the channel for more cool weekly content, like comparisons like these or demos in general. I mostly post demos on this channel of more cool electric guitars like these, or cool acoustics, bass guitars, amplifiers, even of that really cool stuff. And then also be sure to like us and to follow us on our socials, Instagram and Facebook. Links are also in the description. With all that being said, let's compare these two sonically and plug them in. Going to be plugging it into the 1966 Fender Super Reverb. First going to be playing you some clean tones, and then I'll be giving you the dirty tones, for which I will be using this MXR GT OD overdrive pedal. Also, don't forget to leave a comment, share your thoughts. How do you think that these two Les Paul standards compare? Do you think that this one is worth 5 times as much as this one to your ear? Anything, let me know. Enough talking, let's take these two 1959 Les Paul standard reissues for a spin.